Welcome to Crawl or No Crawl. This is Carolyn Holzman, and today is January 28th, day number 512 in this research. These videos are my reports on the indexation research project that started August 2021. As an SEO tester who requires some way to get brand new content, pages that are not previously indexed, into Google's index and served where they can be found by their keywords. That's essentially everything that I'm tracking. So how do I do this? I use a simple test keyword that's in the HTML to test for the first pass. This is the HTML pull of the crawling system when they send the bot. And the second test keyword is set in JavaScript, so the first time that Google will ever see that keyword will be after the second pass when it goes through what they call the render machine. Now these are simple tests to confirm if when presented with new, not previously indexed content, is the indexation system working? First pass and then second pass. Why should indexation matter to you? If you're an SEO tester, it matters a lot. We have to get new test pages indexed. If you use backlinks, you have to get those indexed for them to come into the link graph. If you use content marketing for your clients, you better know what the weather is like and if there's any delay in getting that content worked into the mix. So in short, this is the part of Google. This is the machine that hardly anyone notices, much less talks about. Now, one of the main reasons I continue to test is to demonstrate that Google is a machine. It is not omniscient, and it is not able to know before crawling if your content is quality or not. The research is also to provide a body of work, learning things from the data, to tighten up our industry's vocabulary around the very essence of what we as SEOs do. Indexation, as indicated in Search Console, does not mean what we've been calling it for decades. For decades, we've been told if you're having indexation issues, it's because your content sucks, or your site sucks, or your SEO sucks. So this data provides an alternative explanation. It is not opinion, and it's not talking louder than anybody else. Anybody with eyes can read this. The research requires content that isn't the best. It depends on a site that's not trying to be an authority. It depends on a minimally optimized SEO level. Now, the content this past week, as you can note it here, has been exclusively published on the primary desktop crawler test site. And there's a little question mark next to whichever one yours is, if it's a smartphone or desktop. There's a little question mark on it, and if you click on it, a little info thing pops out, and it confirms that the data that we're seeing in that particular Search Console account was compiled by the designated desktop crawler. Okay, so from what the data shows in the server log, whether we have a primary desktop or primary smartphone designated site, both types of the bots will crawl both sites. However, I'll get into that. What I want to show you now is first, we did not have a Search Console update like I was expecting last night, so we'll probably have it tonight. As you can see, new content was found finally on the primary desktop crawler site, but that was only for the first pass, for the simple keyword. I'm still waiting for the JavaScript keyword, so I'm not going to call it a day yet, but I will let you know. New content was published. Oh, and by the way, the page that came in was yesterday's, so that was super fast getting that in there. I think it was within 24 hours. So that is new behavior. That is something that so far, I'm going to take that as a positive sign. So when everything gets updated down here, I'll update that. Now, let's go over to the index detector page. Now, you can kind of think of this as your daily cheat sheet. Does this mean that if you're not getting your content indexed, I should say crawled, indexed, and served? No, it does not, because you might. But for some reason, until this morning, the serving system for the primary desktop crawler site has not been working as it normally has, okay? So yay, we got some green here, but more importantly, kind of figuring this out. Now I have to update this because it, as you can see, last tested on January 7th, so it's been quite a while, been about 3 weeks. No on the JavaScript, and yes on the mobile rendering bots. I want to make sure that, if stuff is in there, are they crawling it? Now, I'll go over this. So here is the primary smartphone site. Now, the reason it's showing red is that there's no new content being published on there. Now, this is interesting to me that since January 26th, not seeing any kind of the render crawling. This is very, very strange. Now, 2 weeks ago, I turned off the indexing API to both the test sites, the desktop and the smartphone primary. Now, last week, I turned it back on for the primary desktop site. That's the one over here. Now, still, despite this being on, there are no new bots that come when that API calls. So if you've been using that, you might want to look at your server logs because you're probably also not getting that crawl either. And until we get that crawl, you can't get into the index. All right. Now, let's see. Let's go to the bots. Here we go. As I mentioned last time, we did have a new mobile bot that showed up on January 24th. And it looks like a day later, we got the desktop version of the previous mobile. So usually what happens is that mobile 22 would have led to desktop 22, and then we would have seen mobile 23. So who knows if this is a reflection of all the activities that are going on at Google right now with laying off a certain amount or threatening having that hang over your head. So I can't answer that, but I can just say I noticed it's a slightly different rhythm. Now, in general, I would say that there's not a lot of render recrawling going on. And since 100% of the week's tests were published on the desktop primary crawler site, there is evidence of discovery rendering on there. That's like the first time they find the page and do they fully render it. But excluding that, if I take that out of the data, there is not a lot of refresh rendering or refresh crawling. They're pulling the HTML, but they are not pulling all the pieces of the page that you would normally expect. Now, I'm wondering if, just like the rest of us, what's going on with that. I can, like I say, tell you what I see, but as to why, we don't know yet. Check out this week's topic in Confessions of an SEO podcast. You get a chance to hear me wax poetically nerd on server logs. All right, have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.